Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. Your one stop for the day's top stories. Glad you could join us this Saturday evening. Here are the headlines of this hour. Election Commission reports 68% voting in the first phase of Gujarat Assembly elections. Says the final figure could cross 70%. Highest voter turnout of 75% is recorded in Navsari district. Campaigning continues for the second phase of elections in the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi questions the Congress on promise to give reservations to Patels, while Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi says his party will waive off farmer loans within 10 days. Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra calls for institutional arbitration system, seeks minimum interference of courts and maximum execution of arbitration awards to attract foreign investments. And in Nepal, Left Alliance wins 26 of the 30 parliamentary seats, leads comfortably against opposition Nepali Congress. The nation seeing simultaneous parliamentary and provincial assembly elections that are expected to bring political stability. Our top story, the first phase of polling ended in Gujarat on Saturday. Let's get you all details of that first. Well, 89 of the 182 seats went to polls. The Election Commission said that 68% voter turnout was recorded in the first phase. The next phase of elections will take place on the 14th of December. Our correspondent Panchanan Mishra gets us this report on how the first phase of polling was conducted in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home state.
The first phase of polling for the high-stakes Gujarat Assembly election ended on Saturday.
Polling percentage in respect of the first phase of elections in all districts, that is 68%. Last time it was 70.7% in 2012. Before that it was about 60%.
Voting began at 8 a.m. for the 89 seats in the Saurashtra and South Gujarat region. Voters turned up in large numbers. Many of them said development and employment were the two major issues for them.
वही जीतेगा जो गुजरात का अच्छा भला सोचेगा।
क्या इश्यूज हैं, आप लोग किस तरह के नेता चुन रहे हो, क्योंकि वोट डालने जा रहे हैं आप लोग, क्या आपके दिमाग में है?
बस जो सबके लिए अच्छा काम करे, समाज के लिए उपयोगी हो।
यूथ क्या सोच रहे हैं?
They shouldn't divide us based on, Hindu, Muslim or caste or anything, that sort of thing. Yeah, they should think about the country first.
So agenda should be development only.
Yep.
Agenda should be development only, that voters are endorsing, and also several issues are cropping up in this election. But overall, in this Rajkot West seat, we are saying that development is the core issue.
The early voters included incumbent Chief Minister Vijay Rupani, senior Congress leader Ahmed Patel, Gujarat BJP Chief Jeetu Waghani and cricketer Cheteshwar Pujara.
हम चाहते हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सब अपने वोट का इस्तेमाल करें और लोकतंत्र के इस प्रणाली को पवित्रता के साथ उसका उपयोग करें और आज का दिन 14 तारीख भी एक उत्सव की तरह हम उसको संजोए।
जिस तरह से यहाँ के जो मतदाता और लोग और जनता परेशान है भारतीय जनता पार्टी से, किसान परेशान है, मजदूर परेशान है, व्यापारी परेशान है, महिलाएं परेशान है, दलित परेशान है, आदिवासी परेशान, कौन सा वर्ग ऐसा है जो परेशान है?
People are very excited. I think, see, I have already casted my vote, so I would request all the young people who are eligible to vote.
This being the marriage season, brides and grooms clad in wedding finery were also seen at polling booths. Many such couples came out to vote in Bharuch, Bhavnagar, Gondal and Surat.
आज मेरी शादी है और मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि आज जब हमारी शादी के दिन ही हम आज वोटिंग कर रहे हैं, तो ये हमारे लिए खुशी का त्योहार बन गया है।
There were also reports of technical glitches in electronic voting machines and faulty VVPATs at some polling centres. The Election Commission said the machines were immediately replaced, after which the polling process resumed.
48 नंबर का बूथ है, उसमें जो CU और BU है उसको हमने चेंज किया था, क्योंकि कुछ भी वजह से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक साइट में तो गड़बड़ आ सकती है, तो गड़बड़ी तो नहीं बोलते, लेकिन वो स्टार्ट नहीं होता है तो उसको चेंज कर दिया और ये 50 नंबर का बूथ था उसमें वीवीपैट को चेंज किया।
The fate of 977 candidates was sealed in Saturday's polls. Prominent among them was Chief Minister Vijay Rupani, who is contesting from Rajkot West. Others included Congress's Shakti Singh Gohil contesting from Mandvi and Paresh Dhanani from the Amreli seat. With inputs from Pancharan Mishra, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, on the second day of rallies for the second phase, Prime Minister Narendra Modi brought up the Congress's promise for Patel Quota, while Rahul Gandhi continued blaming the government for ignoring farmers. Here's a report. In his first attack on Congress's promise on Patel Quota, Prime Minister Narendra Modi questioned how the Congress plans to make the promise a reality.
कोई मने के भाई અહીં અમારા મુસલમાન ભાઈઓ પણ આવેલા છે કોઈ એ અનામત તમને આપ્યું ખરી ના ઓબીસી નું પડાઈ લેશો આ આદિવાસીઓનું પડાઈ લેશો આ દલિતોનું ક્યાંથી લાવવાના છો તમે ભાઈઓ બહેનો કાં તો બીજાનું લૂંટવાના છે કાં તો લોકોના મનમાં झूठ ફેલાવવાના છે.
Modi also said people in almost all the states have rejected the Congress government.
મહારાષ્ટ્રમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, મધ્યપ્રદેશમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, છત્તીસગઢમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, ઝારખંડમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, રાજસ્થાનમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, ઉત્તર પ્રદેશમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, ઉત્તરાખંડમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ, જમ્મુ કાશ્મીરમાંથી કોંગ્રેસ ગઈ.
Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi questioned the government's policies and promised to waive off farmer loans within 10 days of forming the government.
क्या गलती की है गुजरात के किसान ने? क्या कमी है आप में कि हिंदुस्तान के 10 सबसे बड़े उद्योगपतियों का लाखों करोड़ रुपए माफ हो सकता है और गुजरात के किसान का 1 रुपया नहीं माफ हो सकता है? क्या कमी है आप में? आप मुझे बता दो. कांग्रेस पार्टी की यहां सरकार बनेगी, 10 दिन के अंदर कांग्रेस पार्टी किसान के कर्जा माफ की पॉलिसी अनाउंस कर देगी.
Voting for 89 constituencies of Saurashtra and South Gujarat region ended in the first phase on Saturday. The remaining 93 constituencies in central and northern regions will vote in the second phase on the 14th of December. Votes will be counted on 18th of December. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. On to the other big national stories, and the Chief Justice of India has stressed on the need to develop a good institutional arbitration system that has minimum interference from courts. Arbitration is a constitutional procedure usually used in matters of business that ends disputes in an impartial and unbiased manner. The CJI contended that an independent system will help India attract investments.
Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra has advocated the need for a good institutional arbitration system in the country while also keeping in mind India's interests. He said this would help bring investment as global investors will have faith in the system.
An investment can come when we can really inculcate faith amongst the investors that we have a very good or excellent arbitral system. We have an institutional arbitration model, and there are so many arbitrators, as you said, trained arbitrators.
Arbitration is a constitutional procedure that ends disputes in an unbiased way. It is usually used in matters of business. Regarding international disputes, he said they are required to be solved through an international dispute resolution mechanism.
I say international disputes are concerned means international disputes, that is commercial disputes at the international level. They are to be solved through what you call international alternative dispute resolution mechanism. We have to adjust. But when you adjust, we don't surrender our conceptual sovereignty.
The International Conference on Arbitration in the Era of Globalization was organized by the Indian Council of Arbitration. The conference saw the participation of about 200 people from 30 countries. Nav Vikram Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Saturday reiterated that the proposed FRDI bill protects the rights of depositors, denying reports to the contrary. Apart from allegations by opposition parties, there has also been a debate on social media on a particular clause in the bill, which apparently would allow banks to use depositors' money to bail themselves out in case they face bankruptcy. But the Finance Minister assured that the objective of the government is to fully protect the interests of the financial institutions and also the depositors. The Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill, or the FRDI Bill 2017, was presented in the Lok Sabha in August before it was referred to a joint committee of Parliament. The bill minimizes the failure of financial as well as non-financial institutions like banks, insurance companies and stock exchanges by providing measures like bail-in option to revive them.
Financial institutions के जो वित्तीय स्वास्थ्य है उसको लेकर एक कानून को पार्लियामेंट की स्टैंडिंग कमेटी कंसीडर कर रही है, उसको लेकर कुछ विवाद बने हुए हैं। मैं स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं कि आज की इस तारीख में इस विषय के साथ संबंध करना और इससे डील करना इसका कोई कानून नहीं है देश में। तो स्वाभाविक है कि एक कानून बनेगा और जो भी सुझाव स्टैंडिंग कमेटी देगी सरकार उसको कंसीडर करेगी। सरकार का आइडिया विचार ये है कि उस प्रोटेक्शन को और मजबूत किया जाए, उसको बढ़ाया जाए, उसको स्ट्रेंथन किया जाए।
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday inaugurated a multi-purpose cyclone shelter and many other developmental works in Vishakhapatnam's Chepapalupada village. These developmental projects are being done under the public-private partnership. In fact, Vice President Naidu lauded the people of Vizag and surrounding villages for their bravery during the cyclone in 2014. He further stressed that government policies are for the public, but their participation is equally important. Later, the Vice President inaugurated a convention centre in Andhra Pradesh University. He took a tour of the various departments and also interacted with students and academicians. Vice President Naidu received a warm welcome as he attended the alumni meet at the varsity, where he also visited the Department of Law, where he studied and also visited his classroom. While addressing the audience, the Vice President praised Andhra University's glorious past, saying many great professors, scientists, politicians and artists alike have studied at this university. With that, a look at what else made news across the country today in Nationwide. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted Congress President Sonia Gandhi on her birthday on Saturday, extending his wishes to the leader who turned 70. Modi tweeted that he prays for her long life and good health. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh has said that the territorial integrity of the northeastern states will not be compromised while concluding the final agreement of the Naga insurgency issue. The three states strongly oppose the demand of the insurgency group NSC-NIM to integrate their Naga inhabited areas. The Home Minister also appreciated the work being done by the current interlocutor R.N. Ravi to find a solution. The Enforcement Directorate has attached assets worth 5.3 crore rupees belonging to former Karnataka Lokayukta Justice Y. Bhaskar Rao in a corruption case against him and his son. In a statement, the ED said that the probe found that Bhaskar Rao was in possession of properties, blackmailing and extorting money from government officials in collusion with other co-accused. The CBI has booked the finance director of the state-run power utility NTPC Limited and two others in connection with a case pertaining to corruption. It carried out a search at his residence in New Delhi. The agency has registered an FIR against NTPC's Kulamani Biswal, BGR Mining and Infra Private Limited Director Rohit Reddy Bhatina and Prabhat Kumar. With a quick break here, up next we'll get you the top international stories.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shirai and you're watching Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha TV.
Privacy has to be reasonably explained. On the basis of that constitution, you may have to amend.
The death penalty is sustained on the basis of the concept regarding life given in ADM Jabalpur only.
The impact of the judgment will be huge.
There is a specific right in the Constitution against self-incrimination.
See, under the Constitution, no right is absolute.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Trophy boat race of Kerala, popularly called Vallam Kali in local parlance. This historic boat race dates back to 1952 when Pandit Nehru visited the state and a pageantry of boats accompanied him from Kottayam to Alappuzha. The race, conducted on the second Saturday of August every year, is a major tourist attraction. It's generally the snake boats which participate in the race, and hence the shape of the winner's trophy is also a replica of a snake boat.
The story we thought we knew. The story of magnificence. The story of bloody battles, of those who ruled and those who left their footprints. The story charting the course of our past. Talking history on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Let's get to international news now. Trump's Jerusalem decision continues to stir violence across parts of Palestine and the Gaza Strip. Israel launched fresh airstrikes on Saturday in response to rocket fire from the enclave. The Palestinian Islamist Hamas group said that 2 of its gunmen were killed in the bombings, bringing the total number of deaths in Israeli strikes and gunfire to 4. Here's a report. The second night of rocket fire since the US's controversial decision on Jerusalem. 6 children and at least 20 more people were injured by the Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip in retaliation to the 3 rockets fired at Israel on Friday. The Israeli military confirmed that the Israeli Air Force aircraft targeted 4 facilities belonging to the Hamas terror organization in the Gaza Strip, 2 weapons manufacturing sites, a weapons warehouse and a military compound. As the fire and smoke cleared, residents took stock of the damage to their homes. Yusra is one of the many residents in this building and said that they were taken by complete surprise when the airstrike took place.
الدبات كلها ورا بعضها خشت علينا كتلة نار كل البيت حسيته كله مدمر وغلغبرة والهذا وما حسيناش بالدنيا صحينا على صوت الناس والجيران والصوات في الدبة الأخيرة فتح باب الشقة علينا كله مع حمل خبطة فسمعنا كل الناس هيك أنا قمت أجري يعني جوزي فش أنا وجوزي في البيت صرت أجري فش مش شايفة إشي من كتر الغبرة وكتر النار اللي كانت موجودة عندي بالشقة فزي ما أنتم شايفين دمار كامل يعني.
The Israeli airstrike was in retaliation to the 3 rockets fired by the militant group Hamas on Friday, declared a day of rage by Palestinian factions. More than 300 people were injured on Friday across the West Bank, Gaza and Jerusalem. But Hamas leaders warn that this is just the beginning of their fight for Jerusalem. Meanwhile, protests continued in several countries, including Turkey, Iran and Pakistan. In an emergency meeting on Friday, the UN refused to recognize the US's decision, but no vote on a resolution was planned as the US has veto powers. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And on to Nepal, the Left Alliance has won 27 of the 33 parliamentary seats, with 5 seats going to the Nepali Congress. The polls are being seen as historic, with many hoping that they will bring the much-needed political stability to the country. In the Left Alliance, the CPN-UML has won 21 seats, while its alliance partner, CPN Maoist Centre, has won 6. The Nepali Congress, that won 5 seats, was the largest party in the last election, and 1 seat has now gone to an independent. A total of 1,663 candidates contested polls for the parliamentary seats and 2,819 for the provincial assembly seats. Election officials estimated a turnout of 67% among the 15 million eligible voters. This was the first election for 7 provincial assemblies established under the constitution adopted in 2015. The assemblies will name the new provinces once they convene. And here are updates from across the world in Global Buzz. UN Political Affairs Chief Jeffrey Feltman arrived in Beijing on Saturday after a 4-day visit to the North Korean capital. Feltman expressed willingness to ease tension on the Korean peninsula amid a rising war words over the North's missile and nuclear programs. As per officials, the UN envoy acknowledged the negative impact of sanctions on humanitarian aid to North Korea. Japanese police arrested 3 crew members of a North Korean boat on Saturday for stealing a generator from a hut on an uninhabited island. Police arrested 3 of them for theft, and other crew members will be sent to the Immigration Bureau. As per experts, the increase in wooden boats in recent weeks are just carrying fishermen, including soldiers, drafted to fish. There has been no suggestion that the crew members are defectors. Around 190 migrants heading for Europe were rescued off the coast of Tripoli by the Libyan Coast Guard. As per officials, the migrants, mainly from different African nationalities, were escorted to the Tripoli naval base to receive medical care and be handed to authorities. The United Nations Migration Agency is stepping up the rate at which it flies migrants home from Libya, aiming to evacuate up to 15,000 of them by the end of December. Polish lawmakers approved an overhaul of the judiciary, giving Parliament de facto control over the selection of judges. The legislation, if agreed upon by the Senate and President Andrzej Duda, will heighten tensions with the EU, which has threatened legal action of the proposed reforms. And finally, let's get you some updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. The International Cricket Council will formulate pollution guidelines after smoke conditions hampered play in the 3rd Test match between India and Sri Lanka. The Lankan players repeatedly complained over the high levels of pollution at Firozshah Kotla and wore masks on the field. If the ICC's medical committee finds that pollution levels in the capital is too high, Kotla could lose the right to host Test matches. The matter, though, is likely to be discussed in the ICC's meetings in February 2018. Sri Lanka has appointed former opening batsman Chandika Hathurusingha as the head coach. Hathurusingha resigned as Bangladesh coach in October after guiding the team to Test victories over England and Australia 3 years in charge. He will take over the Sri Lankan side from December 20th for the 3 T20 internationals against India. Hathurusingha has played 26 tests for Sri Lanka between 1991 to 1999 and scored 1,274 runs at an average of 29.62. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia will not prevent its athletes from competing at the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics if they wanted to. The International Olympic Committee banned Russia from the Olympics on Tuesday after evidence emerged of manipulation of the anti-doping system. But the IOC decided to let some Russian players compete as neutrals if their background is found doping-free. That's it on the news tonight. Thank you for joining us.